The straight gate. We've talked about this in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 13, where he tells the person who had asked the question, he says, are there few that will be saved? And Jesus says, strive to enter into the straight gate. There'll be many who will try, only a few will actually succeed. Well, Matthew also gives us this same teaching. And Matthew tells us that this straight gate, he said, it's narrow, but the people who do not find the straight gate but decide to go the broad way, he said, it is very broad and very easy to follow. But the end, he says, is destruction. And so back to the question, is it, Jesus, are there few that will be saved? And Jesus says, yes, there are few who will be saved. But back to the book of Matthew. Matthew goes into detail, and all of these are part of the teachings of Jesus Christ. And Jesus begins to talk about the fruit of a person's life. In other words, how we know what's going on in a person's life by the fruit that they bear. In other words, the evidence of a life that's committed to Christ and committed to following the principles and the teachings of Christ, and a person who has decided to go the broad way that leadeth to destruction. And here in this teaching, it's very clear that there is no halfway to do this thing. Either there is the walk that has to do with the relationship, or you're on the broad way that's going to lead to destruction. And I find this to be, I just should say, it disturbs my spirit to realize that there are many people who have taken on the, I'm going to use the word trappings of religion, and would seem that they're very religious, but yet there's no spirit relationship, and it just becomes something that's all done carnal. Well, the thing about the carnal person is not what's going to cause us to someday be with him forever in heaven, because it's the spirit of a man. And I have taught this many times now on this radio broadcast and at my congregation at Freedom Road about the spiritual awakening that we find in John chapter 3 that Jesus talks about when he's talking to Nicodemus. When Nicodemus came to him and wanted to know about the miracles, he said, how do you do the miracles? And Jesus began to explain to him, you have to be born again. And many people think that, well, the born again is getting baptized and that sort of thing. Well, that's all a part of the process, but the reality of being born again is when a person truly becomes aware of their spiritual self and the spiritual world in which they are living. And I believe this is a part of the teaching about the straight gate, that a lot of people are going to be deceived when they think that they've got it all nailed down and that they got it all taken care of, but yet they've realized or have not realized that it's a spiritual walk. And it's not something that we do through the flesh. It has to be truly a born-again spiritual experience. This is Pastor Jack King with the Gospel on the radio broadcast.